Hey everyone, this is Andrew. Welcome to Atomo. It is February 26, 2023, and I want to jump right into it with a bit more on China, as the Mr. Trump would say. All right. So what I'm bringing up here is the Global Security Initiative concept paper that the Chinese government has brought out. And essentially, since it's a global security initiative, they started to talk about this at the Munich conference that just passed a couple weeks ago. And so the idea is they're proposing here something called a global security initiative. Now, I don't know what the full implementation is. This is just the white paper, so to speak, to get us kicked off. But the aims here is eliminate the root causes of international conflicts, improve global security governance, and encourage joint international efforts to bring more stability and certainty to a volatile and changing era. So sounds awesome. I wish someone like, the collective West in the United States would have this sort of initial approach to problems that are happening around the world. So they give some core concepts and principles here. Stay committed to the vision of common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security. So there's just some basic brouhaha on that. Stay committed to respecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all countries. Okay, so um, this is kind of the long game thing. So China is, in my assumption, is China is going to ascend the ranks by just being cooperative with everybody as best they can. Belt and Road Initiative is a big example of that. Is we're going to build everything better by helping everybody build the tallest building, so to speak. So just say if I have a city and the goal of my city is to have nice tall buildings, and I got a lot of people participating in doing that. One, I'm going to help everybody build nice tall buildings. Um, it's truly what you do in a proper capitalistic framework. Anyhow, um, just yeah, okay, I'm kind of teasing a little bit here because China, of course, it's socialist and communism type stuff. But unlike the United States, so that we're seeing is, well, they're going to build the tallest building by tearing down every other building around them. So good on that. We'll see, so now we can always point to their documentation, but we have never really seen China going out and doing the hegemony thing. I talked about that in a previous video with the USA and China calling basically the USA on their shenanigans. So more doubling down on the UN Charter. Okay, that's a respectable thing to do. If everybody followed the charter appropriately, then we wouldn't be falling into all of these conflicts. Uh, and then if there's territorial security that needs to be maintained, then well, you can enact elements of the charter to assist. So there's always, I'd done Model United Nations when I was a lot younger. One of the things that we kept bringing up was, internal affairs is outside of the jurisdiction of the international community. So, and this is where China can play a little bit. They got some things going on internally, but that was always in the UN. It's like, hey, this is our internal affair. So there's civil war happening within my country. It's like, this is our internal affair. We're working on it. It doesn't mean that you come in and you like do a kinetic action to eliminate the one that you wanted to eliminate, being an outside force. Libya. Excuse me, NATO, Libya. Okay. Stay committed to peacefully resolving differences and disputes between countries through dialogue and consultation. Hey, you talk, you figure things out. So we don't do what Elon Musk said. War is the ultimate Supreme Court. He tweeted that out when the Ukraine-Russia conflict started. Stay committed to maintaining security in both traditional and non-traditional domains. Huh. Okay, so what do they mean by this? Traditional and non-traditional security threats have been intertwined. We encourage all countries to practice the principles of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits in global governance, and work together to address regional disputes and global challenges such as terrorism, climate change, cybersecurity, biosecurity. Biosecurity. Oh, interesting. Well, let's tap the mic here. Hey, China, if you want to talk a bit more about biosecurity, give us a little more information on what happened with the Wuhan lab. How about you throw some information out there? Stir up the pot a little bit. If you don't like if you're complaining about the US hegemony, then how about come clean a little bit with what was happening in Wuhan there? Just a thought. Anyhow, moving on. There should be concerted efforts to explore multiple channels, develop a holistic solution, improve relevant rules, so on and so forth. Okay, so a bit of good talking point boilerplate there. Okay, I'm just going to scroll through this because there's some things here like a nuclear war cannot be won, it must never be fought. Okay, I'm not going to argue that one at all. Once those weapons start flying, and remember was it War Games back in I think the 1980s? Would you like to play a game? The one where there was this computer called the Whopper that was, I guess, initiating the nuclear war, but nobody could win it. I think it was just basically playing tic-tac-toe, and nobody could win the game of tic-tac-toe, and that's all that the Whopper was doing in its modeling, realizing, okay, weapons weren't getting thrown around, but um, I'm just going on very old memories here. I don't remember all of what happened in War Games, but it's worth a revisit. It's a good movie back in the day. Nuclear non-proliferation. Well, hey, we see Russia pulling out of the START treaty because of what's going on. So in one sense, it's good that China is putting this out here because they're ringing the bell on, hey, somebody has to put the daddy pants on and come in to the conversation, say like let's break it up here, especially with the collective West versus the global South. Promote political settlement of international and regional hotspot issues. Well, that's great to do through trade and stuff. Support hotspot such as Ukraine crisis through negotiation. Okay, not sure how far that ship has sailed, but we have to see some sort of big changes in that. This one's interesting. Number 6, the ASEAN-centered regional security cooperation. ASEAN is something that I think works well. I've been in Southeast Asia and traveled around, and the ability for people in Southeast Asia just to move in that block is actually it's quite good. Like even people coming from Myanmar down to Thailand have reasonable access to the country. And when you have kind of a decent, reasonable access, well, if they do overstay, then they'll get caught and they'll be shipped out. Or you'll be sent to the Bangkok Hilton for a little bit. Nobody wants to go to a Bangkok jail. Have a really bad experience, and then you'll tell all your buddies like, yeah, just don't get caught because you're not going to have it's not going to be 5-star hotel accommodations like the collective West is doing for these, which I think you should put them into a really gnarly prison and then have them talk about how horrible that went, and then it might start to reduce the amount of migrant crisis. But hey, just a thought, you know. So they've set up a framework of this Lancang Mekong Corporation, Mekong River, so that area with a special fund. So they're looking to help develop that area since they have a cooperative. And when you got a good cooperative and people are working together, countries are working together, then you can start to invest in those countries. And this is the big problem that we're seeing with COVID was causing problems to our supply chains. And next thing you know it, you have this war, and then everybody's buggering the supply chains and energies. And many videos I've done talking about the energy aspect in Europe. But in order to have strong global trade, it's almost like you need marriages between the countries. The moment those relationships go sour, then you lose a lot of the benefits that these relationships were providing. So that's why we might get unfettered or having inflation blow up over here in the collective West, primarily because of the nominal wage decrease by moving some productive capacity over to Southeast Asia and Asia in general. Once you break those bonds of trust, you don't get that nominal wage differential. So you have to rehome a lot of that back to the USA or collective West, or you face shortages of certain items. So if you go to your pharmacy, see if you can get like Tamiflu and other medical products off the counter. That's been a problem, especially here in Canada as well. And that's how China works. China works subtly. They don't make big protestations and wave their hands like the Americans do. Like, oh yeah, okay, you're going to take our chips away. Ooh, pharmaceutical production taking a big hit. We've had some really gnarly problems with, COVID zero and lockdowns and all that. And then they're probably not laughing like Americans would, but they're probably like, oh yeah, they're getting sick and they're not able to heal themselves and don't have the medicine in stock like you used to. Imagine that. Okay, again, nuanced way that China likes to work. What else we got going on? Okay, Middle East, Palestinian question. Ooh, two-state solution to the Palestinian question. Well, that's going to ruffle some feathers. So that's an interesting one to keep an eye on. Two-state solution to the Palestinian question. So this isn't, again, this isn't some opinion piece. This is government of China saying this. Okay, so this is where this article is coming from. Going straight from the CPC. Okay, support the efforts of African countries. Yeah, great, because if you haven't seen, there was the special franc. There was a French franc, the colonial franc used in Africa. They're still using colonial money in Africa. France is doing that. And so this is where, the Sahel is primarily that area where they were doing this in France. So France is basically still colonizing. So if we want to use colonizing as a dirty word, we got to keep calling that out. And Giorgia Meloni, the prime minister, the president of Italy, I get them mixed up over there. If they're president or prime minister, maybe prime minister. Yeah, I should know better, but when I do these things, sometimes I get little amnesia. Whatever. Okay, so yeah, on that, Belt and Road Initiative, they're building roads all the way to Africa and eventually rail once they get enough countries who want to cooperate. Then you can have this great infrastructure being moved, all the way across the world island, which is all the countries except the Americas. When you say world island. So we got maritime differences that they start talking about. Piracy, armed robbery. Okay, that's all that's good and awesome. a lot of UN stuff here. China is a permanent member of the UN Security Council. Talking about cyber threats. Okay, there's some really interesting stuff that came up. Let's see, ethical governance on AI. That's going to be a tricky one. That cat's getting so far out of the bag. That I have a video about Elon Musk and the wizard hat. So if you want to check that out, I got some information there. If you're interested in AI, internal cooperation in outer space, yeah, that's another cesspit waiting to happen. Especially want to blow up satellites and have fragments flying all over the place, so that nobody could use outer space. Safeguard food energy, support World Health Organization playing a leading role in global governance. Oh, please no. But China and the World Health Organization, they're kind of in it hot and heavy together. So yeah. Platforms and mechanisms of cooperation. There's something interesting here. I think it will come up. Again, a lot of the UN stuff. Shanghai Cooperation Organization, BRICS cooperation. See, a lot of cooperation happening. If they keep up the level of cooperation that they're doing, they're going to far outstretch the collective West. Because then the collective West will default to the only thing they can do is war and destabilizing the security situation. So hence, that's why China is doing this. They need to create enough stability in these areas that they can invest and gain huge amount of money off of these investments. They're building some pretty high level assets. Again, Belt and Road Initiative does that. Hold high level conferences on the GSI. So you're going to see, a set of WEF and Munich conferences. You're going to have GSI conferences happening. GSI, kind of like GDI, kind of going to Red Alert, the old video game there. So maybe somebody will play that up in a video game somewhere. So yeah. There was some talk about, I'm just going to scroll up here. Apologies for zipping through this. I think I might have missed a little nuance as well. There is talk about the Pacific Island. There it is. Here it is. Sorry, I missed this one here. This one, I think, number 9. Support Latin American and Caribbean countries in actively fulfilling commitments stated in the Proclamation of Latin America and the Caribbean as a zone of peace, and support the community of Latin American and Caribbean states and other regional and sub-regional organizations playing an active role in them. So basically, this is almost like a foreshadowing thing. If you go to a Shakespeare play and see the ominous, not of woman born and the forest is moved, a bit of Macbeth stuff going on there. That for them to bring this up, because we know what's happening in Haiti. You have the Canadian government getting in on Haiti and wanting to ensure Haiti is kind of moving in the direction that they want to move in. How many other of these Caribbean states that are potentially rife for being picked on? And you think, oh, it seems like it's a very low level, nothing burger to play with those areas. But it's just, it's more of, in a previous video, I talked about the board game Go, and China is playing their own board game by doing this. But what they're doing is, well, the Caribbean is pretty much a bit of an open territory to go and play in. So you might see some security, rabbit ears. You might see the collective West going and dabbling in the Caribbean a lot more, especially with some of the banking and the finances that go through the Caribbean. They might try to start to finagle that some more. I don't know how that's going to play out. I haven't done high level analysis on that yet. But with the potential of you know, making sure that, and this is a theory that I'm trying to toy with, is making sure that there's nobody that can squeak away on you. If there's certain people that you want to box in, that they don't have an escape hatch to get away. And by locking down the Caribbean, you take away some of those escape hatches, especially when the elites start going at it as we move through the next decade or so. And when you see corporations larger than most countries, it's already, Apple, for example, is they're a country into themselves with the amount of money that they can move. That you're going to see these bigs, these enormous corporations start to battle it out. And when you have billions upon billions of dollars, well, then what is it that you have left? Picking up assets. Well, what should we start to pick up? How about some nice tropical islands? Oh, okay. So if we start to do that and sway governments on these islands and start to create, play places for fabulously rich, so they, then setting up a security cooperation to help with, the shenanigans that might start happening when you see the asset takeovers start to occur, then could be that China's just keeping that area under watch. Uh, okay. I'm going to stop it there. Thank you for joining me as we look through this paper. Stop share. Okay. And have a good one and see you in the next video.